Epperly, a founder and CEO who's ready to rewrite the definition of imposter syndrome. I created Who Made You the Boss to let you know that you're not alone. If you've been wondering whether your burnout is actually a sign toward evolution, or if perhaps there's something more to these challenges we face as leaders, creatives, and entrepreneurs, you're in the right place if you're looking to embrace the challenges you once perceived as negative, if you're ready to own your entire story, and if you're working to level up your business in ways you never thought possible. You'll learn all of this and more by listening in and doing the hard work you know you were meant to do. So let's get started together today on Who Made You the Boss. Hey listeners, it's Lindsey, and I am wrapping up this season of Who Made You the Boss with a solo cast, as I tend to do. It's really significant for me because this is not just wrapping up a season of the show. I am also in the process of closing a chapter and wrapping up a season of life and work that I don't know I ever imagined myself doing. So to fill you in, 1 month ago, I stood in front of my team and announced that I would be stepping back from the company I founded. It is a decision that has been slowly unfolding over the past few years, and I want to share a bit about that journey with you because it ties so closely to the idea of purpose, like we've been focusing on this season. Now, since making that announcement, the number one question I've been asked is, how did you know it was time? And I wish I had a simple answer for you, some sort of like pithy quote that you could keep in your back pocket, but the truth is, there was not one clear moment or sign. It's felt more like a slow dance, a series of steps that took place over the 10 years I've been leading this company since its founding. And for me, stepping back was not a decision made overnight. It was a process, like 1,000 tiny nudges that just finally led me to a point of clarity. And honestly, it felt even harder sometimes in the months leading up to this, even though I had already made that decision, because I truly love this company I built. So making this move required a lot of work in putting my ego to the side and asking, what's best for the company? I refuse to let my day-to-day involvement be the short-term gain that deteriorates Jetset's long-term success. So let me back up for a minute and share the personal moments that really led me to this. At the end of 2019, I very suddenly lost one of my best friends, Jury. And her family gave me the greatest honor in the world and asked me to write her obituary. Now, I've always been a writer, and I very much appreciated that her family recognized that I would be the person for that job. But as I wrote those words about a life cut too short, something in me clicked. And I was writing to honor my friend, and as I did that, I made a promise to myself that I would not take my own life for granted. Little did I know, at the time that I was writing those words, I was actually pregnant with my first daughter. We then entered into a season of excitement, as we found out, but then it was quickly paired with a season of uncertainty as the pandemic hit, and we were forced to walk away from everything. Our home, our community, all of the life that we had been building, my husband, who was my business partner, and I, we did it all to keep our business afloat and to give my daughter a chance at the future we had been dreaming of as entrepreneurs. And then I became a mother, and that gave me a new lens on everything. When I had Mila, I remember the fear and uncertainty that came with her very difficult delivery and the hospital stay that followed. It was an extremely challenging, extremely traumatic experience that really actually amazingly brought incredible clarity to what truly mattered. And then it eradicated me of the anxiety over the things that didn't. I had been so caught up in constantly people pleasing to the point where I lived my life trying to live up to the expectations I thought others had of me, instead of asking what expectation did I have of myself. But business began to return to normal and opportunities arose. I mean, incredible opportunities like the ability to acquire another company I had long since admired, which we did in 2021. And because it was what the company needed of me, I stepped into the role of CEO. I studied up on what it meant. I took this very seriously. What would it mean to be a great leader? I squared my shoulders off and I attempted to become the type of leader I always wished I'd encountered while I was building the type of business I always wish I had to work for. And that was always the goal. Put out something with impact, something I was proud of that I wish would have been around when I was in that position. And personally, I had a goal of landing on the cover of Luxury Travel Advisor magazine and doubling the modest size of the agency I founded by the time I was 40. I had that goal in 2019. But because of the opportunities we seized in the pandemic, the goal that I had to reach by the time I was 40, I actually achieved by the time I was 32. And those achievements were incredible, right? But they were a bit of a false summit, kind of like Jess Ekstrom talked about in our interview a few months ago. And I'll link to that in the show notes. But I had been dangling a carrot of someone else's definition of success. So then, as I was attempting to lead two companies through the continued spiral of the pandemic, the kind of steps and re-steps of building back this industry, we were still making enormous sacrifices in our personal life to ensure the success of the business. One day, I was sitting at the kitchen table talking to my husband, and I fell over into a seizure. This completely unexpected medical event sent me into such a dark time of uncertainty, one where I had to follow the trials of a misdiagnosis and eventually kind of learn to find hope in spite of the outcome, not knowing if there would be an outcome. And during that time, I was faced with the fragility of life in a way I had never experienced. And that reminded me of the promise I made to myself after my own friend's life was cut too short. The seizure was another wake up call for me. Now, when that seizure happened, I was very much tempted to fold into myself. I've written about this on our Substack. I was tempted to live small. I'll never forget attending an industry conference for the first time after, and I walked around terrified that I would just collapse out of nowhere. At the time, I still couldn't drive. I couldn't even take a bath by myself. I wasn't supposed to put hot things into the oven or carry my daughter down the stairs. So, how in the world was I expected to lead a company? That was a season where I learned to rely on my partner, my husband, and the team we were building. We had this goal of building out a team that could serve our advisors, and I learned to really lean into that. And this taught me something huge. The bravery doesn't always look like pushing through or holding on. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is to step back and trust that the world will keep spinning, even when we are not the ones at the helm. And all of those experiences were just these little moments that gave clarity around how my company, my role, and how I myself were all evolving. And that eventually led to the decision that it was time to let go of the CEO role. I had stretched myself to fill that role that the business needed me to play. But the truth is, I never set out to be a CEO. I set out to build something meaningful. I always dreamed of being an entrepreneur. I wanted to build something that helped other people believe in their value, even when I wasn't so sure of my own. And that came from a place of 10 years ago when I first started what was then Bravery Travel, what would become what we know as Jetset World Travel today. I started it honestly from a place of complete brokenness. I was 25 years old, sitting on the floor of my bathroom, feeling the weight of a toxic relationship. That's an understatement. And I was convinced that I had nothing left to offer the world. But there was this little voice, this little spark of hope inside of me that said, you can create something that matters. And I did. I built a company that has had an impact on so many lives, my own included. But now my purpose has evolved, and I've come to realize that my role needs to evolve with it. And what Jetset needed 10 years ago when I founded it, it looks so different than it does today. And honestly, it is the honor of a lifetime to be able to make a decision to let my baby spread its wings without me hovering over its shoulder as the founder. And the decision doesn't diminish my love for what I've built. In fact, it reinstates it. I spent a week a month ago when I made this announcement in Fort Worth with our team, and I was reminded of all the wonderful humans that have been drawn to this company. I was reminded of what kind of beacon we are in this industry of kindness, of hope, of gratitude, and how many more wonderful people will be drawn to this company over time. And just what it looks like for us to be able to serve them because of the decision to follow my purpose. You know, I want Jetset to be around for decades beyond this first one, and propping it up to be a success without it relying on me is an essential piece of that puzzle. Not to mention, Jeremy is stepping into the CEO role, and I couldn't be more proud of him. He was very much made for this. You know, I am the type of leader that kind of shoots first and aims second, and Jeremy is always playing chess. He is a strategy guy who can look at the market years beyond where we are now and make sure that we are equipped to be a strong, respectable, innovative player in it. And he's a man of character. And I get to see that behind the scenes as he dances with his daughters and serves his neighbors and his family and friends from a place of integrity. I mean, his number one goal in life is to show up. He is all about showing up. And it is so cool for me to see him doing that as the CEO now. And as for me, I will be serving in an advisory capacity, and that position feels right for where I am and where I want to go next. So all of this to go back to that question, how do you know when it is time? When is it time to take a brave leap, whether that looks like stepping back or leaning in further or perhaps pivoting entirely? I share all of this to let you know that the answer may not come all at once. Sometimes it's about trusting the process, following the small, quiet nudges over time, and having the courage to admit when you have reached the end of a chapter. Right before I made my announcement to my team, I stood in a bathroom stall. It's always a bathroom stall, right? And I prayed and I asked God, what do you want me to know right here and right now? And in that quiet moment, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. And I immediately heard just words laid on my heart, a verse that I've heard year over year over year, but I felt these so deep within my soul. I felt the words, well done, good and faithful servant. And I sobbed in that bathroom just a few minutes before going on stage because that was my confirmation that it was okay to let go. There was no one else in the world that I needed to please in that moment, forever. And so I want to turn this back to you. What's the bravest thing you have done? What is the bravest thing you will do? And maybe you haven't figured that out yet, or maybe you're living right in the middle of it at this very moment. For me, the bravest things I have often done involved leaving. I left a toxic relationship. I left my hometown, searching for a place where my heart felt at home. I left a safety net to start Jetset. And now I'm leaving the CEO role because I know it's what's best for the company and what's best for me and my family. And leaving, I don't think means giving up. Sometimes it's the bravest form of growth. It's expanding so that others can step into their own purpose. And I'm reminded of what Shannon Miles talked about on our recent conversation. I'll link to that one too for you. This law of expansion. We expand, we gain power, and then we give that power away for the sake of others. And then we repeat. And that is the season I'm in now. I've expanded. I've gained power through the work I've done. And now I'm giving that power away, trusting it's time for someone else to take the reins. And that is more than okay. That is a true honor for me. So I will leave you with this. Where in your life are you being called to expand? What brave step do you need to take, even if it feels scary, even if it feels impossible? Maybe it is stepping back. Maybe it's stepping into something else. Maybe it's that you know your purpose, but you haven't leaned into it to the point where it's a priority. Do other people know your purpose? Maybe it's that. Whatever it is, I hope you listen to that quiet voice inside and you trust that you were made for more. You were made to expand, to give your power away, and to create space for others to do the same. So thank you guys for being part of this journey with me. I can't wait to share what's next. And I hope you continue to follow your own path with bravery and purpose. So I'm not going anywhere. This podcast is coming back in early 2025. Stay tuned for season 4. Make sure you've subscribed so you are the first to know. But in between now and then, I want to go deeper. I want to get connected. Join me over at Substack. Make sure to check out lindseyepperly.substack.com because I'm building a community around the reflections on purpose and on bravery and this beautiful mess of figuring it all out. And I want you to be a part of it. So until next time, be brave in pursuit of your purpose. I'm rooting for you.
If you've gained some valuable insights from listening to Who Made You the Boss, there are 2 ways we ask our listeners to show us some love. First, share this episode with a friend who you know would benefit. The more we impact others, the more we can grow our resources to impact you. It's a win-win and it helps us a ton. Second, if you'll take a moment to leave Who Made You the Boss a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast platform, that helps us continue to create meaningful work and it just makes our day. Thank you, listeners, for being part of this journey. Until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and keep being the boss of your own incredible story.